Describe the extent in which World War I contributed to the breakdown of the European balance of power. The war also had larger effects beyond Europe, as it involved non-European conflicts and contributed to the collapse of European empires. The European balance of power, which consisted of Britain, France, Austria, Prussia, and Russia, focused on replacing religion as the center of diplomatic powers. World War I marked the end of the European balance of power system that had been established in the 19th century. This conflict changed the political and economic view of Europe and weakened the dominant powers of Great Britain, France, and Germany. It led to the rise of the United States and the Soviet Union as two major world powers. The Treaty of Versailles, which was signed in 1919, redrew the map of Europe and prepared in advance for future conflicts. The balance of power declared that nations could secure their own security by preventing any one state from gaining too much power, leading to the nations having an increased motive to work together to prevent domination by any power of other nations. The outbreak of World War I in 1914 marked a major turning point in European history as it brought about significant changes in the political and military relationships between European nations. One significant factor that contributed to the breakdown of the European balance of power was the development of new military technologies that gave certain countries a strategic advantage over others. The introduction of machine guns, tanks, and poison gas made it difficult for soldiers to advance on the battlefield and increased the accidents of warfare. This led to a dead end on the Western Front, which made it harder for allies to defeat the Central Powers. The use of submarines was another technological development that played a major role in the war. Submarines, which could attack ships from beneath the surface of the water, disrupted supply lines and threatened the naval dominance of the British Empire. This forced the Allies to develop new tactics to block the threat. Another factor that contributed to the breakdown of the European balance of power was the Armenian Genocide, which was a mass killing of the Armenian population in the Ottoman Empire during World War I. The genocide resulted in the deaths of approximately 1.5 million Armenians and had a significant impact on the situations of foreign affairs in the region. The genocide led to the weakening of the Ottoman Empire and also created tensions between the Ottoman Empire and the Allied powers, which ultimately led to the Ottoman Empire joining the Central Powers in the war. The widespread discontent and revolutions among the population was another factor that contributed to the breakdown of the European balance of power. Economic, political, and social inequalities had been festering for years prior to the war, and the conflict only made these issues more prevalent. In Russia, for example, the strain of the war led to a revolution that overthrew the Tsarist government and established a communist regime. The war also had significant effects beyond Europe, as it involved non-European theaters of conflict and contributed to the collapse of the European empires. For example, Japan's aggression in the Pacific and on the Chinese mainland during the war challenged European dominance in Asia and undermined the legitimacy of the Western imperialism. The war also paved the way for the breakup of the Ottoman and Austro-Hungarian empires, which had ruled over a diverse population for centuries. In conclusion, the outbreak of World War I had significant effects on the European balance of power, as it involved new military technologies, revolution, and non-European theaters of conflict. These factors contributed to the collapse of the European empires and reshaped the political and military landscape of the 20th century.